Yo, 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 what is up, fuckers? Welcome back to another episode of Pillar Thriller. I'm Justin.
And I'm Romo, and we're in two different locations still because life happens, and we're doing things, making it work, and then we're going to be back filming stuff in person here soon with all the content we got coming up.
Yeah, probably about, just to give you guys a time frame, it'll probably be about a month and a half before, maybe two, before we actually start filming together again in one place.
Yeah, I said a month and a half, and Justin's really going to hold me to that. I can tell because it's like the fifth time you said that.
Did I? Or I said or two. I said or whatever, man. You know, like that's what like whenever you can. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, with the regular camera, we'll be able to make that work. So the quality right now is probably not as good as a regular camera, but we're making things happen, creating content, talking horror. And tonight, we have a special guest.
Yes, you saw us post about this, but we have wonderful Kaasi from InWenches podcast. She's going to join us tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about her, as we always do, about our guests. We're going to talk about the Orphan. We were all brainstorming and started talking about family-oriented horror movies, kids in horror movies, and Justin, I don't believe, had seen The Orphan yet, so we were like, we're doing that one. But we'll branch off and talk about other shit for sure. That's just how we do it.
Yeah. So without further ado.
That's a word.
Yes. We can, let's bring her in, man. Hey, Kaasi.
Hey. You guys are cracking me up.
This is how it always is between us. It's usually just a bunch of bickering. Justin does the intro, and then I shit on it a little bit. But
he shits on a lot of things I say or do. Yeah, so that's pretty. But it's a back and forth. It's all good. It's all love.
Love it.
Absolutely.
So Kaasi, tell us a little bit about yourself first, and like in your podcast. How that started and like everything, you know? We'll start with that.
I started with a good friend of mine. She's my best friend. And her name was Meg. I don't know if you guys have seen her or heard some of the beginning episodes of her and I. We were just on podcast platforms, but then we switched to YouTube. And we started it together because we just love horror. We love Halloween. We love all things creepy. And we love talking about it. But it would always just be us talking to ourselves or each other because not a lot of people around us love it as much as we do. So we're like, we got to talk about this more. We really love this. And that's how we started doing it. And then she had to start her own business and she has kids as well. Like it's just life. Like you guys said, life happens. And so I just took it solo and kind of talked. And I just absolutely love it. I'm super passionate about horror and Halloween and just kind of kept it going.
How'd you get into horror? What got you into horror?
My grandmother, she showed me Swamp Thing when I was like 4-ish. I don't have a lot of...
That's a great age. I told myself I was going to tell Jax is going to start going to haunted houses with me at 4 years old.
Yeah, it creeped me out. I mean, it's not super scary, but I'm scared of water and things that live within water and so just to see him come out of the swamp and I've talked about this before as well. Like he was so creepy and I love Wes Craven and I don't have a lot of memory from that age. You're really young, but I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with it, and then I fell in love with the art of it. I fell in love with the gore, with the fun, being on the edge of your seat, and I just never stopped. I just love it.
God, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like all of us started at such an early age, fall in love with horror, but Justin and I's podcast beginning is very similar to you and your best friends. Basically, we were just always sitting at like crawfish boils or hanging out and would be sitting having side conversations about what this meant in this movie. Like, did you see this in this? Did you catch that? And all this stuff. And then we're like, why don't we've been talking about doing a podcast. Why don't we actually go ahead and start one?
And that's amazing.
And here we are, man. And like, I'm hoping we don't split up though. You know, we'll see how that goes. Just kidding, no.
I thought the episodes, the last few that you've had to do are still really great. Even if you guys have to be separated, you still are. The chemistry and the friendship and all that is still there.
The hardest thing about podcasts and like when you're doing them in general is like making sure you're not talking over to each other and like interrupting. It makes it 2 times harder doing it this way. But I got to read like Justin's social cues. Like I can tell when he wants to talk or when something's really getting out of what he needs to say. So I figured
it's nice that we've known each other for so long, because it probably would have been a lot harder to do it over video than it is in person. That was like one of the things when we first started. I remember like the first 2 videos after we finished and like edited it or whatever, you know, I immediately was like, man, I'm so sorry. I feel like I interrupted you there. Because, like, you know, you have so much to say, like, at this, like, especially when, like, something is so interesting and you have a lot of opinions on a certain subject. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you don't want to forget what you're saying. So then you kind of want to say it in that moment.
Definitely.
And, yeah. So it's like, that was one thing we had to learn, to just not talk over each other. I did it a lot.
And I'm the same way, even just in normal conversations. Yeah. And Meg is the same way as well. So when we would talk, we would just kind of keep talking until we're like, oh, we're both talking. We got to pull back. And
and before you know it, like the episodes, like you're already at the 45-minute mark. You know what I'm saying? Like it goes by like that.
It does.
Yeah. So what are the chances Megan ends up coming back and you guys doing the podcast together?
She might. Well, I mean, we kind of go. Sometimes we do them together, and sometimes we don't. Mm-hmm. And she's talked about wanting to come do some guest spots with me. Not actually like come back, but come and do some more because there's so much she still wants to talk about. She really does. And we'll watch a movie, and she'll be like, "Did you see that?" Like, yeah, did you see that? Oh, this is, and we just talk and talk and talk. So she might come and do guest spots, but I don't know if she'll ever fully come back, but if she wants to, of course.
Yeah.
So she just wants to be special coming in.
Yeah.
Where are you located? I know you said you're in Eastern time zone, like we are. We're in Atlanta. Where are you at?
Yeah, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Okay. I am the worst in time zone, so I assume that's straight up.
Yeah, but so it's just below Michigan. So this is Michigan. Okay. I always do the hand because yes, I'm from Michigan, so I'm always like Michigan. And then it's just below.
Gotcha.
Question: is Pawnee an actual city in Indiana?
Is what?
Is Pawnee an actual city in Indiana?
I think so. Nowhere I've ever been, but
what is Pawnee, Justin?
Pawnee, Indiana is from Parks and Rec.
Oh.
I don't know if that's for real. Yeah. It could be a fabrication of the truth, but I'm not sure.
It's like Scranton, Pennsylvania. Like I still don't know if that's a
real place.
Yeah, I still don't know if that's a real place. Oh,
I think it could be a town. Maybe they rename it, but I'm not sure it's 100% a town here or a city.
So how often now, like since the split up, how often are you dropping episodes? When should you look out for your episodes? Is there like a certain timeline, or you kind of just put them out whenever you put them out, whenever you have the time? Like,
I gotta do it whenever I have time. Yeah. Like for a while there, I'm just like, I'm gonna try to do 1 or 2 a week, and then with kids and family and all the things that come with that, I usually can get 1 to 2 out a month. And I'm always at the beginning, like, guys, I wish I could get more out, or me, life's crazy, life happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try to do at this point in my life, like 1 or 2 a month. I would like to do more than that eventually, but it's just so hard right now. Like I have 2 kids with their ages. It's just almost impossible. So the moment I feel it or I get alone time, I'm like, okay, I got to sit and make a video real quick. And that's kind of how I do it.
Do you have a favorite episode that you've done?
The favorite episode that Meg and I did together that's on our YouTube channel is a trivia one that we did. And that's sort of one of the first ones we did when we transitioned to YouTube. So that one with her is one of my favorites. The one by myself, I'm so goofy and animated that I'm sadly literally make myself laugh. So I like a lot of the stuff that I talk about. I know it sounds awful when I say that, but
no, it's a good thing.
It's so hard. I probably my Nick Cage episode when I talk about Mandy and Willy's Wonderland, and I just love Nicolas Cage. Yeah, like I really get into Nicolas Cage is one of my favorites, especially at this chapter of his life with horror that he's been doing. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Did you see his new movie?
You best. The main thing I did just a different movie, Justin.
Yeah, man, I love that, man. See, this is what I'm talking about, the video. Right?
But it's good though because you guys literally were in sync. I mean, you said it at the same time. I haven't seen his newest. No.
It's the one where he's like actually himself or playing himself or something.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about it actually. So
I do. Usually his, I see it at the store, I buy it. I don't even have to see it. I love it. I buy it and I'll watch it later.
Yeah, most of the time, like that's how I am with like Will Smith. Will Smith's my favorite actor, and like even if I haven't seen the movie, I'm more than likely going to watch his movie anyway when it comes out. But if I had on the off chances that I haven't seen it, I'd probably just go buy it anyway, just because it's Will Smith.
Oh yeah, I love Will Smith too. Definitely.
So Justin, what we have to do before we get too deep in this is we have to do our celebratory toast that we do for each episode.
I did have a beer. I can't chug it, but I have my Reds.
Reds is good. I like Reds. It's underrated.
We got a picture of that once. Like in Righteous.
Like Kuzan's?
Maybe Kuzan's. I don't know. It was really interesting thing for us to order a picture of, but it was really good. So
I don't remember that. Because usually we get like, if we're not drinking like IPAs, we're drinking like some shitty beer. Like
I don't do IPAs anymore. I pass out if I do IPAs. Just fall asleep. So I can't do those anymore. I do the old Yingling is basic, so I'm doing that.
I got the Tropicalia. It's Georgia. It is made in Georgia. This is one of my favorite beers.
It's a strong IPA, Kaasi.
I've never heard of that. That's awesome.
It's like a UGA, like Georgia Bulldogs. Like that town is very like small and outside of the city, and that's where it's brewed at. It's good. I went through phases of really liking it, and then I drank it too much, and I was like, I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, you got to have a few that you can intertwine so you don't get tired of it.
Exactly.
I don't drink that much anymore. So if I'm a little drunk after I chug this, it's because I don't drink.
That's what would happen to me if I were to chug and just pass out.
Yeah.
Well, we've had buddies that have done chugging of water bottles, like long sips. Yeah. Whatever you want to do. We just want to do a toast. Kaasi, thank you for joining us on this episode.
For joining us.
Thank you for having me, of course.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, camera.
Oh, gosh. That never gets easier.
I almost made it.
So the problem is I forgot I had this in my car. And it's warm. So it's disgusting.
Oh, no.
Oh, warm. No.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It's all good. By the way, it's like 95 degrees in Georgia, so it's more than warm. It's not quite hot, but it's
getting there.
Yeah.
It made me boiled.
Oh.
Just made me boiled.
I think we're about 86 here. You never know with Indiana. You never do.
Yeah, same in Georgia. We get all 4 seasons in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
Yep. And I don't know if you've probably mainly listened to our YouTube stuff, but our like audio only. My sister listens to like our audio only most times. She'll be on like flights and stuff, and she says after we chug the beer, like it's like I'm doing good right now, but the next like 5 minutes is us like progressively burping.
Burping.
So luckily I've survived so far because I think Yingling's not super heavy. Justin will have a big one at some point. I know it.
Yeah. And like I have a sipper too, so like I opened it already, so I kind of have to start drinking that, even though it's warm.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do what I need to do for the brand. You know what I'm saying? So we're just
take one for the team.
That's right. So, Kaasi, tonight I think like the horror movie that you mentioned quite a few, but
that was so bad.
No, it's totally fine because I love having choices because we watch so many. Like by the way, so he just finished Stranger Things over a span of 2 days. I stayed up till almost 2 a.m. last night watching Stranger. It's addicting. If you haven't seen it, the new season's incredible. So
I actually started over because I got into it and I realized with the time gaps and everything, I'm just like, this is such a great show, but I feel like I need to start back at 1 and then end when they get their part 2 out. And that's kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I did this. Like we did finish this portion of season 4, but we started it back over. So we're like, by the time July 1st comes around, let's have caught all the way back up for those last 2 episodes of this season. And then, like you said, there was almost a 2-year gap, I think.
There was such long gaps and then an even longer gap because of COVID and everything.
Yeah.
And it's so good that you don't mind starting over, especially if you're like, I might have missed something. I don't remember that completely. And then you just start over.
Yes, exactly. And
I didn't quite remember it all either myself.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's the hard part. It's like just making sure you catch all the details, all the stuff. A lot of stuff happens in season 4. It's overarching of everything, which is insane how well they do that. But yeah, so that's what I mean. We'll watch pretty much everything. That's what's been hot out so far. Like, hasn't been a ton of horror releases in theaters, which is why we're like, all right, we're gonna do the Stranger Things season 4. We're gonna do episodes of that, so we have that coming up. But
that's gonna be exciting.
Yeah,
that's a great thing to cover right now.
He talked me into doing TV shows. I was kind of against going back and doing it because it takes so much time. But I was like, let's just do it.
My thought process was like, I figured like if there was ever a TV show that didn't release all of them at one time, we could go week to week doing one episode, covering that episode. You know, if they like Disney Plus sometimes, like, you know, with the new Marvel stuff or whatever, they don't drop all episodes. They wait week to week. So it's like, in that aspect, that's what I was thinking. But Stranger Things, everything on Netflix is all dropped at once. So it's like, it's kind of harder to do that because you got to watch everything like
right away.
In a short period of time. Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah.
But with that said, like I said, you know, like we love having choices. And when you mentioned The Orphan, that was cool. It's been.
What are some of the other ones that were mentioned? There was Pet Sematary was one, Village of the Damned.
The Omen.
The Omen. I was looking at all these things. I was trying to find like fun facts around these horror movies specifically to talk about, and I found a few. So
yeah,
we may run across those and try to guess which are which. But I couldn't stay in that vein the whole time.
Well, when he said it, I'm like, I think I got it because you being family oriented but loving horror and all that, and I love that combination. And I watched the new Firestarter on Peacock. And, you know, that all starts with a little girl and her powers and everything. And then the moment I mentioned that, it's just like, I can't, it's falling down a hill. This one and this one and this one. So much comes to my mind.
How was that, by the way? I told Grandma I was going to watch it. I mean, the trailer didn't look really like, it was like, you know, so, but how was it?
Well, okay, so I was most excited for Zac Efron because I'm a huge fan of Zac Efron.
Big fan.
I love that guy. And I really love the original Firestarter. And I didn't really know what to expect. I really kind of just went into it for Zac Efron, to be honest. And once I started it, I thought it was pretty good. I kind of liked, they really stayed true to the story, but they changed what they needed to change. The only problem with it is, it's just, you can really tell that Zac Efron isn't a dad. And he really, I don't feel like he connected to her the way that he should have.
He's the father?
Yeah, Zac Efron is the father of the little.
Yeah. By the way, I love Zac Efron too. I love him since High School Musical. I love High School Musical.
I do. Same. I love him. I've always loved him. And I'm like, oh, and he did great. Like when he had his powers, he bled from the eyes instead of the nose. And he did a great job, but just the problem with it that kept on losing me was he had no connection to the little girl in a way a father would.
Yeah.
And that was basically the whole point of it, other than them having their powers and being on the run. And so I wasn't as happy with it as I thought I was going to be, because you can really tell he doesn't have a kid. And you can really tell he didn't connect to her the way that the original father-daughter duo did in the original one.
Now, is this based off of a book?
Yeah, Stephen King.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's off a book. Yep. It's Stephen King's book. And they did it. I can't remember when the first one was. It was early 80s. It was Drew Barrymore when she was a little girl, right after E.T. It was like her second or third film.
It's wild. It's funny you say that about Zac Efron, though, because I was having the same. I haven't seen Firestarter yet, but I was having the same thoughts when I was watching the the Child's Play reboot with Aubrey Plaza as a mother. Like, age-wise, it makes sense. It's just I've seen her in so many other things. It's hard for me to really dive in and be like, that's like, see that connection. She did a pretty good job, but it was still, I had to get past that barrier first.
Sorry, my husband just popped into the window and scared the crap out of me.
What up, hubby?
Like, he literally, they were outside playing and he just like, Jesus. Sorry.
You thought a burglar was coming in.
You gotta love that. I would do that to Hannah.
He knows I'm doing this. So he's like, I'm gonna scare you. I'm gonna scare you. He did.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. He did, because I totally missed the last sentence you were saying, and it freaked.
Oh, you're
I'm
good.
sorry. It freaked me out.
No, it's good. As long as you're okay.
I'm good. Just over here.
Mid-episode.
I'm just over here. I'm just the one shitting myself now. No big deal.
There you go. Yeah, so all those movies you mentioned, like I started thinking, now that you say that, it makes sense, because I feel like with those, even rewatching, we went and rewatched The Orphan again, because it's probably been 10 years since I'd seen it. Honestly, a long time. And you do feel from Vera Farmiga, you feel like that motherly connection, and like in Pet Sematary, even in the remake, although the original's definitely the best.
Yes.
Feel that connection, like from the parent to the child. And I know the remake of Pet Sematary flipped some things, but it did it for a fresh take.
Yeah.
All those movies you mentioned, like they focus on the family aspect, like a family drama almost within a horror movie. And I think that's important.
It is so important. I think it's the key to the whole, no matter what the story is, it really is key, because you have to believe in those connections to be even more scared and even more devastated when something bad happens. And when it's not there, it's kind of hard to connect with it yourself.
See, I agree, because for me, a big thing is emotional investment. And that's like one of the things we have as like in our pillar rating system is like we have emotional investment. If I don't feel connected, if I'm not invested in you or as a character, it kind of throws off like almost the whole movie, especially if you're the main arc, right? Like it's because it's when you're such an integral part of the movie and I don't feel for you, like whatever you're going through, it takes away from me, like completely. I don't like, so I definitely agree with the parenting thing. Like Vera, which by the way, like it's been such a long time since I've seen this movie. I like forgot she was even in it. Like I forgot it was her. She's been in so many things. This like when I was rewatching it, I had texted Romo, and I was like, I forgot she was in this, and she's in every movie. It's like, matter of fact, my parents were over here last week. This past weekend, we were barbecuing for Memorial Day, and we had Hawkeye on. She's in Hawkeye. Like she's like in everything. It's amazing. She's an amazing actress. But when we were watching that, even like the very beginning of the movie, very gory, by the way, of like the orphan, like the initial scene of the movie is just straight gore. And I was like, you felt the connection immediately. You could tell, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if she's a mother, like, or not, if she's got kids, but it felt like she's been through pregnancy, and it felt like she knew what it was like. Hannah was watching it with me for the first time, and she was like, oh, yeah, that's it, because I never want to do that shit again. Like, it was like, so
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
So she was like, yeah, she did a good job in like portraying that. I don't know if at that time she'd had kids or if she just did really good jobs at researching what pregnancy was like or what giving birth was like. But I felt an immediate connection there. So it kept me invested.
And I think she did wonderful with every part of mothering in that movie. She really did, whether she had kids. I mean, I'm not sure if she had kids or not, to be honest. I can't even confirm that, but she did amazing with that, even when they wanted to foster an older child.
She's kind of crazy.
In the
just
movie?
A little bit. The orphan.
Oh, just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah,
just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to like, because you're used to portraying like motherly bond with it being your own child.
Yes.
Right? And so it's still very much your child when you adopt, but there's not the biological connection. So it's something that I feel like was hard for her, and I say hard for her, hard for anyone. She probably made it easy to portray that, because you're not just portraying like, oh, okay, being a mother, this is my daughter that I gave birth to, but taking on somebody that she said she wanted to give love to, and it just adds a twist to the whole family dynamic, right? Even before shit goes haywire.
Yeah.
And you see that too, as easy it was for her to love her and accept her and embrace her, the moment that she knew something was wrong, if she could just flip the switch like that, like the dad couldn't, but she could.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a wild family dynamic, because we're talking like family drama within. They had Vera Farmiga and the dad's like past troubles of him being in an affair, like that was thrown in, and then the orphan comes in at that time when they haven't resolved that. And so this movie did such a great job of expanding on what that family tree was like and all the little problems that were in it. And like the younger sister just being like basically a yes man, like for pretty much all the movie.
Yeah.
So it's the brother being like skeptical the whole time. Like it was such interesting personalities. That's why this movie coming out in 2009 was almost like not a dead time for horror, but it was an interesting time for horror. So it was a lot of stuff being tried, a lot of
it was right
like it came out now. What do you say?
See, I did it again. Go ahead, finish what you were saying, man. I was
gonna say, I feel like if this came out now, and I know they have like a prequel planned, I feel like this would get more praise now than it did maybe in 2009.
Yeah, it did not get enough love. It did not, and I cannot wait for the prequel because it was such a good twist.
Is she cast in it?
Yes, she is, and she's coming back to play her. Even I think she was maybe 11 or 12, and now she's like 25. I don't even.
Well, so like, what I wanted to say was 2009. I think that was like right before the big horror door, like for me at least, right? Like was a couple of years, at least the year before Insidious. So it was like, I think so it opened. I think that although it doesn't get enough love, and I think it was a gateway, right? Like
definitely.
I believe, right? It was like a gateway to shoot like the horror genre up, because once that was done, she like Insidious came out in 2010, and then from that point forward, it was almost like horror was like the thing, right? Like
it was
starting in 2010. So it was almost like a gateway. That's how I feel about it. So
I feel like it would fit like right in with even though the twist is pretty like some people said they expected it. I was like, you may have expected it, maybe not, but it being like in that elevated horror status, not to the degree of like a Hereditary or like The Witch, not that elevated, but like still the fact that it tries so hard to be so important at the small details throughout the entire movie to lead up to the end. I think, and like Justin just said, it was right in that peak of when like Saw was kind of in the middle of its franchise, so you had that was the big thing. So when this came out, people did talk about it, but it was mixed in with all that stuff. I wish it would have come out like 2 years ago when people are still knocking down the door to go see horror movies. They just want to see something in theaters, like, and want to be scared and want to be like mind fucked or whatever.
Yeah.
I did not.
I didn't either. That was weird. Right?
I had no idea. I just thought she was some evil kid.
Yeah. I was like, oh, she's a cunt. Like literally, I turned to Hannah. I'm like, oh, yo, she's a cunt. Like she literally was like, first of all, she's playing Russian roulette with this gun to this little poor Maxine, by the way, right? Like this chick is like what 9-10 years old, and Esther is like this. We didn't know at this time, but you're 30 plus years old and you're playing these games with this little kid. Like, you know what you're doing. Obviously, she's really fucked up in the head. But I turned to Hannah, my wife, and I was like, "Yeah, she's a cunt." And I was like, and she was like, "Yes, she is." And then immediately after that, she took the hammer and started beating the shit out of the nun. And I was like, yep.
I thought she was bad when she like pushed the girl, but then when she killed the nun, I was like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah, and I just thought she was a mean orphan child that was going to kill every family she was with. I didn't see the twist at all. Like I was the mouth dropped. Holy shit! Did that just fucking happen? Thing type reaction. Yes. That was me.
That's what you think, right? Because obviously, because she wasn't 33 years old and like. At that time, so like they did a really good job, and it was a really good plot twist, and it was like she's just very conniving, and it was she did a really good job playing that part.
She did. I mean, she was brutal, manipulative, got them at all their weaknesses. When she came down and she was dressed like sexy, I was like, what the hell? What happened to you? Why?
Yeah. I wanted to turn. I had to turn away, and I was like, "Is this okay for me to look at?" You know,
And they did that moment where they're like, "She's 33." I'm like, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah. Yeah.
No, oh God. And then they gave the whole backstory on how she was like. Obviously, they mentioned she was from Russia, but you find out she was like working as a prostitute for a little bit. The shit hits the fan when they reveal everything. I'm like. And then she starts taking her makeup off. She removes her like her necktie and her wrist ribbons, which were hiding all the cuts from the straitjacket that they talked about.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God! Like the attention to detail to get us to here was awesome.
It was
because it did feel like it just felt like she was just a mean, like you said, a mean kid, and everything in that movie. What was crazy about that is everything felt believable. Like like how she killed people, what she was going through and how the movie was progressing, like everything felt believable. Like you would have this family dynamic where they were like, no, she's fine, like no, she's not, and then like that's going back and forth, but in the background all this is still going on. It's just obviously you couldn't have executed that not being 30 years old.
And I do think of the reason a lot of people don't foster or adopt older kids because they're afraid that they're going to be violent or that they're going to be bad. And it played into that fear very, very well because that's exactly what she was. And then she ended up being a full grown, but not grown adult.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Whoever wrote that and came up with that plot twist, especially for 2009, right? Like that doesn't seem that long ago. That was over a decade ago. And like by 2009, we've had horror movies like Frankenstein, like way back, like 70 plus years. You know what I mean? Like you would think that like we've already had something like that in that like, but to think of like a horror Benjamin Button movie is like is just incredible, right? Like it's just like that's such a good plot, and whoever came up with it was super clever. I don't know like the detail. Like a lot of times I know who directed things and who wrote it, and like
I have his name up, and I'm gonna butcher this. But it's Jaume. I'm gonna butcher Wame Kalasera. He directed the House of Wax remake, which I didn't know, and he would produce The Shallows, which
with Paris Hilton
movie.
Then like the House of Wax of Paris Hilton.
Yeah, the remake.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
It was really good. And then he has a credit to like Jungle Cruise, The Rock was in, but it doesn't say what he had a credit for.
Yeah.
He may have been like randomly producing it with The Rock.
I like Jungle Cruise, by the way. Like I did like it.
It was a good one. Speaking of good kids movies, that's a good kids movie.
I love a good kids movie. Who doesn't love a good kids movie?
So like it's weird. I don't know if you know this about me, Kaasi, but like although I do love horror, I'm also like a big Disney fanatic. Like I love horror and I love Disney. And so like, by the way, so the fact that they're doing a horror Winnie the Pooh, regardless of whether it's ultra low budget or not, I'm through the roof ecstatic about that movie. Like it's just like now you're mixing two of my favorite things in the world.
I think Disney's freaking out if that actually like they're probably sitting there like, how are you, if you make it close enough to Winnie the Pooh, how are we going to sue? But it's public domain.
Yeah.
But it's public domain.
They'll probably just make the killer a princess. It's really the
Elsa killing people would be like what Carrie was doing. So
that would be fire, bro. Like I want to do stuff like that, like just Disney remakes, because like Cinderella's a fucked up story. You didn't know, like if you know the actual story of Cinderella, the stepsisters, right? They cut their feet off to try to fit into the shoes. Like yeah, like it's a fucked up story. Like that's the
even
real
just
story.
Rewatching some Disney movies with my kids, I'm like watching it, and I'm like, this shit really jacks you up if you actually really understand what's going on.
Disney makes a lot of sexual references that like I didn't catch when I was like 5 or 6, but now rewatching shit, it's like, did they really just say that? Like they really say shit that's like very under the radar, right? So it's like
it is.
Which, by the way, how old are your kids?
10 and almost 5.
Orphans?
Are they orphans?
Kind of. A little. Like there was a period where my 10-year-old she was like 7 to 9 where she's like, no, mom, don't like it, too scared. And now she's starting to really like it again, and she loves anime. And my son, he's younger. He likes the fun stuff like Killer Clowns from Outer Space and fun stuff like that. But nothing. He if it's too, like I love slashers, and if they're too scary, like Freddy's my favorite. He's like, no. But
you gotta show him Terrifier.
Oh my gosh.
That's for like, I wouldn't show that to my kid unless they were 18.
I mean, if we wanted to stay up all night for 2 nights in a row, I would. Sure.
Yeah. If you just wanted to have a good time bonding with your son for 2 nights, that's okay.
Yep.
Like all-nighters, let's do this.
Yeah. So go ahead, Justin.
No, I just said, I was just gonna say, that's awesome that like your daughter is starting to get into horror.
Yeah, like
because I feel like I'd be a little hurt if Jax wasn't in a horror later.
So I don't know if they'll ever be as hardcore as me, but I know that they're gonna really love what they love within it, because they're desensitized to it now. They don't, if they're scared, they have no problem telling me. If they're not, they love it and they really appreciate it. So I think they're gonna really love what they love, especially as they grow. So I think it would hurt my feelings too if I would be like, you don't like it just a little.
Yeah,
I know, like a little.
I know if they just don't like Nightmare on Elm Street, you'd be like, "What?"
Like, you just don't love this dream demon coming to possibly kill you? How dare you?
I know, right?
Yeah, like you don't want to sleep because they, get into your dreams.
Yeah, they'll be scared to sleep.
I'll be scared to sleep.
But I mean, it's funny that you bring up Disney, because one of the movies that scared me the most when I was a kid, out of all the horror that I got to watch, because I got to watch anything, like I really did, whether it was scary to me or not, was Hunchback of Notre Dame. And that movie like made me cry. I had nightmares about that movie. I couldn't believe, like, because it was just so evil, but it was supposed to be religious, and they were mean to him and they hurt him. And I just, for some reason, anytime someone says like, oh, what movie scarred you the most when you were a kid, I was like, Hunchback of Notre Dame. And they don't
always one like that.
It's religious? I had no idea.
Yeah, there's like a priest, but he's just an awful man. And then there's the hunchback. He keeps the hunchback guy and the Quasimodo up in the tower. And lets people torture him and trying to go after all these gypsies, and it's just it's horrible. It's horrible.
It's always like a random movie like that, like that you used to watch as a kid that freaked you out. This one was really, for me, it was like I would go to bed watching Pagemaster, and like there was like one scene that was like they were in like a dark underworld where it scared the shit out of me. And it's like it's just a heartfelt adventure with Macaulay Culkin as with animated books, and I'm like, no, that scene I would watch at night and I have to cover my eyes. That's not what got me into horror, but it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I don't think any like kid things really scared me when I was.
You had like the young horror shows you said that got you, but like nothing like off the horror radar, right?
Yeah.
No.
Like so, Goosebumps scared me a little bit. Like one specific episode, which was the Haunted Mask, which I had on VHS. Are
You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark? The puppet episode, I will always remember. That scared the fuck out. Like, I would love to cover Are You Afraid of the Dark? That was probably like my favorite TV show growing up, like in the 90s, you know, before I really understood things. Like that was like, I used to love watching everything when they stand around the campfire and then tell, like, it was cool, like to tell stories. Like when I was that young, I always wanted to do that with my friends. But nobody was into that. Everybody else was like, none of my friends were at that time were like into watching that kind of thing. So
I still struggle as an adult finding people that love things. This is why we started the podcast, because I was just like, why doesn't no one love this like me? I'm just talking to the wall.
Yeah.
And then
now you're talking to people.
Yes. It's like, okay, we can still connect. It's okay if you're not in the same room because other people love it too.
Yes, just like this. Like we say or talked about all these awesome horror movies we saw and all these experiences.
It's true. It's true. It was hard to find in close proximity of you, but everyone, they're out there.
Yeah, like the conventions we've always talked about. We want to go like meet up with some people that we're connected with on Instagram. Definitely at one of the conventions at Central. People are all over the place. We have another friend. He's crafty. You may have seen his stuff.
Oh, I do. I love him. My 40 years video was inspired by him and Aaron.
Oh,
they're both artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in Michigan.
He's in Michigan. Yeah, he's from Michigan. He's a Lions fan. That dude is such a really good dude. I've gotten me personally, I've gotten to know him. I'd like to think pretty well, like, you know, over the past year.
You tearing up?
What?
You tearing up over there?
A little bit. I might be crying a little bit. No, so, but that dude's a really good dude, and he does really good shit, like for his page, and it's like, you know, we started a company together. I mean, nobody knows this yet, but like us, he's crafty, Haunt Junkies, and another person who lives in Texas. We started a production company called Drunken Pumpkin Productions, and so it's like,
that's amazing. That is too cool.
Nobody knows that yet, so I guess it'll be the first time that people will hear about this.
Yeah,
it's like, so like we've really been working really close together, and he's that dude's like one of the most like down to earth dudes you'll meet, man. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's. I've only interacted through IG with him, and I won one of the giveaways from the really amazing Necronomicon. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Just the stuff he creates. He seems amazing. So that's it all. He's great.
I saw that when I was trying to find like one of your like podcasts promoting pictures on Instagram, so I could throw it in the upcoming content collage I did on the page, and I was looking through and I saw the book, and I was like, is that Eric's book? And I was like, oh my god. I was like, that's it. I tried to use that one. It wouldn't frame right in the collage, so I was like, I have one on here.
Like so that nice. Was the thing. You how are you liking your things from us as well?
I love them. Yeah. I love it. And you know what the funniest thing is that the Trick or Treat Sam Lollipop Prop. I actually had that, and I was that for Halloween before I won your giveaway, and it fell and it broke, and I was so sad. And then I won the giveaway, and you guys sent it to me, and it was just perfect. It was like meant to be. I was so happy.
Yeah, no, yeah, I feel like that was such a long time ago, but it really, like, I don't know if it was like that was. We want to do another giveaway soon, man. That's like, those are fun.
I was ecstatic when I won that one. That was one of my favorite giveaways that I've won and been a part of.
Heather, this is
Heather Wonder Woman. We have a shirt still to send to her.
Yeah, Heather Wonder Woman. The shirt is in a box. We keep forgetting to go to the store, to UPS or wherever, like, to just send it off. But it's packed. Just so you know, if you're watching this, it's in a box, ready to go. We just have not gone up to the store to send it off.
It was like mixed in all my other boxes when I moved. So it's just it's one of the boxes that hasn't been unpacked. And I'm like, Justin reminded me today, and I was like,
It's been like 6-7 months. It's almost October again. It's like
this Halloween, it's worth
it. Yeah, I gotta get that out.
It's cool. It's a pink one too.
Yeah, it's a limited shirt, Heather. It's the only pink Pillar of Thriller shirt that's ever been made.
So jealous. See, that'll be worth it. Worth the wait.
Yeah, some things take several months, maybe a year. But yeah, so I'm so happy that we like to, like, no matter what with our guests, and I don't know if we prefaced you on this, we always like to see what our guests' top 5 favorite horror movies are. They do not have to be in order. They do not have to be a set in stone top 5, but 5 of your favorite horror movies that really come to mind. I have a feeling I know what one of them is.
It's so hard because I didn't have a favorite horror. I had a favorite slasher in like type of horror, but I never had a favorite horror movie until I became a part of the community. And then they're like, you have to have one. So my first and all-time favorite is the original Nightmare on Elm Street. That is my number 1. Halloween is my number 2.
Excuse me.
Friday the 13th, Part 4 is my number 3. I love Jason, but the fourth is my favorite. I could do a whole episode on that.
Romo's is 7.
I love the look in 7. His look in 7's my favorite.
That's what I told Justin. It's like a guilty pleasure for me. And I was like, Zombie Jason, played by Kane Hodder, like in that, like in how that movie went down and how it was supposed to be Carrie versus Jason. And like, I'm like, I was the only one for a long time that I had on DVD, so I would just continuously watch that one.
Yes.
Great too.
And then 4 is oh goodness. 4 would have to be. It's so hard for me to pick past 3. It's so hard for me to pick past
Justin
3.
has a new top 5 after he sees the movie. So
the Hills Have Eyes remake is probably one of my favorite remakes of all time. It was just gorgeous. I loved that movie. So that's probably my number 4. And then I love Candyman. Candyman is
1990 or like the newest one?
Well, I love the newest one too, but it's the original. I'm all about Tony Todd. Tony Todd is my dude.
Yeah,
I heard Chris Rock was one of the names they tossed around to star in that back in the day.
Oh wow, no, I'm nothing. I love Chris Rock, hilarious. Nothing, but no, Tony Todd. Love him.
Tony Todd is. I don't know if you saw this episode, but David Howard Thornton told us that they're doing a scary movie together.
Oh, and I was gonna say The Terrifier too, but it's so hard because I like the classics have such a special place in my heart, just other than My Hills Have Eyes remake that I love. And I love art. I love The Terrifier. It is one of my favorite clown movies. Scary Clowns. I absolutely love that movie.
I think like 10 years down the road, people are gonna look at that and be like, I think there's gonna be a resurgence of like we're getting a lot of like those requels, right? Where like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween 2018 and all that, but like Terrifier is so original, and we're getting a second one. I wouldn't be surprised if they did 3 or 4 of those.
I really hope. I'm sitting here waiting for the second one. I'm waiting.
Yeah, Damien Leone keeps talking about it. I'm like, release that trailer. I'm ready for it. Well, there's a trailer, but I need the movie or a last teaser or something.
Yeah, me too. I just the movie. I feel like it's taken too long. Even COVID aside, get it out. Like I need it.
So to me, it's very underappreciated, but I don't feel like the majority or like a casual has seen that movie. You know, like it's so underappreciated.
It's already a cult classic.
And even then, like, you know, like they were so one of the things we mentioned in our interview with David was like saying that like there was no real plot, you know, like that was like one of the things. And he, you know, he countered it and straight up was like, you know, there was people say that a lot, but there was an actual plot to this. And this was like, but even without that, even if he didn't say that, that movie would probably still be one of the best like movies for me in my personal top 5. To the fact that he doesn't talk the whole time, does not say one word, the fact that like honestly, like to me, he has like that movie has the most gruesome kill that I've ever seen in a horror film.
Yeah, it had me like cringing, but I couldn't look away.
No, yeah.
Have to see it.
I think when I first watched it, I watched it with my little brother. I think he was like, I don't know, 10 or some shit like that. Like it was I had to let him. He's got to watch it with me. You know what I'm saying?
Scarred for life.
No, he loved it. He loves that shit now.
Oh, good. Well, see, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's into horror. Like he's big into that now. He's like he'll always like whenever something new comes out or whatever, he's having a good time. So he'll tell me like, have you seen the trailer of this? He'll text me, you know, or like, have you when's Terrifier 2 coming out? When he saw the like when he watched the video like of us interviewing David, he was like that was so cool. Like he's really like bought into the horror movies.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is too cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Kaasi, we want to thank you again so much for having you. We're getting up close to the hour point, and I'm gotta get my little pup out of the crate. He may kill me otherwise. But we want to give you the opportunity also right here to plug your Instagram page, plug your YouTube, every listening platforms. Just say whatever you want to say.
That's anything if you want, you know, whatever you want.
Well, everything is just at Cruel InWenches, one word, and that's basically what it is for IG, Facebook, YouTube, all the things. You can find it just with that one word. Sorry, I'm losing you guys here. I'm losing my camera here.
Oh, you're good.
We will also have her YouTube link, her Instagram handle. Everything will be in the actual description of this video. So look down there when you want to go see this badass girls content. So
thank you. And thank you for having me. I would spell it, but I feel like I would just be losing people by the end of the spelling.
Oh, no, it's easy.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it like all together, and I was like, I looked at it as one word, and for some reason I was breaking it up into like 4 words, and I was like, oh, it's Cruel InWenches. What am I doing?
Like, yeah. We'll
like,
just let you guys read it.
Like, Cruel, Ellen, when? Oh, I was like, I'm so lost. But it was not your fault. It was me being an idiot, which is par for the course out here.
It's okay. I do the same thing, even with my own name.
Sorry. He does that a lot.
Yeah, I'm awful. Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Go check out Kaasi's page. Like we said, she's the best. So happy that we had you on for this episode. And
me too. Thank you. I hope we can do it again.
If you ever want to have us on, you know, feel free, man. We're ready to collab at all times.
Yes. This is the first time I've done it, like ever. First time I've been with talking with anybody since my partner. So this was great. I
hope you enjoyed it. You know, like I hope this was okay, even though it was done virtually. Like it was,
oh no, it was perfect. Anytime you guys want to do it, I'm down for it.
Yeah, we could do something together at like all the time. I'm always down to work with other people, man. So it's a good time. Thanks again, seriously.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you guys.